Dean, the modern enterprise
Yes.
is filled with a lot of mobile devices, right?
It is. Yes.
Mobile computers, devices in general.
Yes.
Mobile computers, smartphones,
Yes.
tablets,
Yes.
laptops, displays.
Small mini computers. Yes.
And ideally, they're all working together.
Yes.
They're all under the control of that company's IT department.
Well, ideally, yes.
They're all speaking to one another.
Not just rogue
kept
devices.
updated and secure.
Yes.
But that can be difficult with so many different operating systems, different hardware specs.
Good point.
Mix of purpose-built and maybe even consumer personal devices.
Yeah.
And of course, then you've also got the rise of AI solutions.
Oh, yeah.
You're sticking AI all over everything. Right
Yeah.
too.
That's kind of a nightmare scenario you're painting here.
It is, but it also represents an opportunity
there
for
we go.
VARs by offering MDM services.
Nice.
That's mobile device management,
Yep.
or even just standard device management. It doesn't have to be mobile.
Yes.
If you think that's not your problem or your expertise, well, there are partners that are out there that will help you out with this, which brings us to our guest today. We have Esper's Keith Szot. He's going to be explaining how, first of all, how AI is changing the SaaS model and why that's kind of changing the way we have to approach businesses and our discussions about their devices and how they're managing them, why you should be selling device management.
Yes, you should be.
And solving that multi-OS problem.
Yes.
And we're going to learn a little bit more about how Esper can help you do that.
Yes. Yes, we are.
Yeah, not worry about it. That's a good
Not
point.
even worry about it, right?
Like, you don't have to, like, it doesn't have to stress you out.
Don't let it keep you up at night.
You don't have to retrain your entire
Esper's
staff.
got the answer
Esper's
for
got
you.
that answer
That's
for
right.
you.
That's
So
right.
that's what we're doing on today's show. I'm John Martin.
And I'm Dean Reverman.
Welcome to BlueStar Nation. This episode is brought to you by Esper. Device management should do more than just meet demands. It should deliver tangible impact. Dedicated devices demand exceptional experiences, and Esper helps companies deliver them with advanced, dedicated first workflows and tooling.
Yes.
So if your customers are sick of re-provisioning devices, I'm sure I would be too.
Yes.
If they're ready to automate outdated workflows.
Who isn't? Yes.
I hope they are.
I would
You're
think
not
so.
going to be in business for that longer if you're just all about outdated workflows.
Nope.
And if they only want to look at the devices that actually require their attention instead of their entire fleet,
That's a mistake.
which really makes sense.
Yeah, all right.
Well, hey, you're in the right place.
There you go.
Welcome to your new favorite MDM, or as you're going to learn in this podcast, just a DM,
You're right.
Esper. Check out the link in the show notes to learn more and schedule a consultation. The Blue Star Nation podcast is also brought to you by Elo. The Elo Pay M100 provides the ultimate rugged enterprise-grade mobile point-of-sale tablet in a slim, ergonomic design featuring a 10.1-inch FHD scratch-resistant touch display, integrated payment with PCN PTS 6.0 pin on glass.
Oh, man.
I don't know what most of that means, but it sounds cool.
That was just geeky enough. Yes.
It's geeky enough. A flexible Android 12 OS and a Qualcomm SD660 processor. The M100 Pay merges powerful performance with the security, unified architecture, and extended lifecycle that businesses require. The M100 accepts payments from anywhere, includes integrated cameras, boasts sufficient battery life to last a shift, and can transition from mobile to fixed with a rotating POS dock that swivels from merchant to customer facing. I always find that fun, like when you're shopping and they're
Yes.
like, flip something around for you to tap your payment or
cool.
sign or
Yes.
whatever, or verify something. It's
Like, watch this. Click. Yeah.
it's cool. Okay, well, I'm glad about the other one that's impressed by that.
Yes.
That was boring. I was a little bit of a weirdo then. I don't get out much these days. To learn more and view additional specifications, check out the link in the show notes or contact the BlueStar Elo team. All right, our guest today is Keith Szot. I'm pronouncing that correctly, right, Keith Szot?
It's Szot.
All right.
Nice.
I usually ask beforehand. I forgot this time, but
Yes.
I felt like that was fairly intuitive.
Not for all, let me tell you.
Well, it doesn't surprise me. Keith is the Senior Vice President and Chief Evangelist
I love
for
that.
Esper.
Love that
That is a
title.
fantastic title. Like,
Yeah.
Is that self-assigned or is that something you actually have to like get promoted into?
It is self-assigned. I've been at the company long enough, but I learned it from my days at Microsoft.
Oh, there you go. Nice. Well, tell us a little bit about yourself, your background. How did you get to Esper and what is your day-to-day like there?
Yeah, so I've been around the confluence of hardware, software, and server turning in the cloud pretty much my whole career, starting with Microsoft back in 1992, where it was Windows back then. What got me onto this path was actually Windows CE. So I worked in Windows CE on product and was part of the team that brought Windows CE into these vertical markets. So that's where we started with retail POS, industrial automation, and have kind of hung around this space ever since. And that's where I first got introduced to SIs, VARs, disties, resellers, and kind of injecting Windows CE into that channel. I went off in a bunch of different directions, did a series of startups, and got into IoT for a while. And IoT taught me about Linux, about these distributed systems, about building for the cloud, and kind of put myself in the seat of how do you operate these types of fleets hands-on, and what does it mean for you, your customer, and how to run that kind of business. That led to kind of serendipity because the kernel architect of Windows CE, Yahoo, our CEO, his new company, Esper, happened to be looking for somebody to do marketing. And so it just kind of connected, and I came into Esper before we had any customer. So this is like the product market fit phase. We were just getting going. And since then, it's been quite a journey, basically doing a whole bunch of different types of roles, whatever we needed to do at the time as we were building the business. So I did everything from doing customer support, pre-sales, customer success, visiting customers, visiting prospects, visiting VARs and SIs, and really out there to kind of build that momentum for Esper. As we matured, I've become kind of a person that's focused both on the outside and the inside. And so what I mean by that is really just understanding where's the industry going. If we have something that we really need to focus on with a prospect or a customer, I can jump in and help with that. But it's also kind of bring what's happening on the outside, inside of Esper, and kind of percolate it through the company to make sure that we're on the right track.
What a journey.
Yeah,
I do
no
like
doubt.
the two-way street. It appears as though you monitor over there, or manage, is how we say, yes.
A little bit of everything.
Yeah, inside and outside. Yep.
I think Chief
Sometimes I feel like I'm
Evangelist
standing in the middle of the road.
That's right.
Watch out.
What's going on?
desperately trying to wave traffic through. Yeah,
Yeah, no doubt.
Okay, then I think Chief Evangelist does fit the mold
Yes,
there. That sounds
yes.
like it sounds like you
Yes.
you know a little bit of everything and
Yes.
can get your fingers into a little bit of everything over there too. All right, well, Keith, we wanted to get you on here to talk a little bit about MDM, but I think before we get into that aspect of things and kind of explaining the benefits of it and why VARs should be focusing on that, let's talk about the lay of the land of where we are with our industry, kind of our, the technologies. Obviously, AI is the big deal right now. It's unavoidable. I was just been talking to people about the NRF experience, and of course, everyone's saying, yeah, it's still AI everywhere.
Yep.
I don't think it's going to settle down anytime soon.
Nope.
But let's talk about how that's starting to actually make an impact on our channel, and particularly the SaaS model and how we go out and sell. What's going on out there? What are people having to change and pivot about the way they approach the market to include things like AI and automation and how that's impacting our industry?
Yeah, I think the number one takeaway for me is that this is shifting for the channel, the focus on outcomes. AI really brings to light like what the customer is trying to accomplish and be able to build processes and measures relative to what they're actually trying to do, thus outcomes. We're kind of in an in-between phase, right? Because AI is slapped on everything. But that is what it's taking it to me, is that if you're in the channel and you have your customers that you need to service, they're going to shift from just implementing technology to what does it do for us? How can we measure it? And how does AI play into being able to do this?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, when I think about shifting outcomes, it's like solution selling, right? And I know we've been preaching about that for a long time, but I think the channel is definitely embracing that. It's a different story when you walk into a customer today. You can't just have a product and that you're going to talk about that product and, and try to fit a square peg into a round hole. You really need to figure out what the solution is.
Yep.
And the SaaS model is enabling that. Like we're going to come up with an outcome. I like where you're going, Keith. And that outcome is going to have business implications for you. And then we're just going to sell this to you as a service. So the folks that have figured that out are obviously the ones that are winning and making some hay out in the marketplace.
Yeah. Well, I think it fits very nicely in what we keep talking about in our efforts to emphasize practical solutions, the real applications of AI, which I think is what everyone really is starting to talk about now. And I think to your end, you said this slapping it on everything. I think we've reached the point where people are tired of just hearing, well, my product has AI.
Right.
Everybody just saying, well, we got AI too. No, over here we got AI.
Yeah.
That's fine, but it doesn't matter if it's not actually doing something, if there's no benefit, if there's no application, and to your point, if there's not an outcome that we're striving to get to. Because to me, it's no different than just the old school speeds and feeds conversation. Like you can't just show up and just start screaming about all your features and benefits.
Hey, this one's faster.
Yeah, exactly. The processing power, what kind of chip it has in it, or whatever. For the most part, people are like, whatever, I don't care about that. Tell me how this is going to do what I needed to do and solve my problems. And if you haven't asked about those problems that need to be solved and understand that and are working toward that, then you probably shouldn't bother explaining all the other stuff.
Well, not only that, but also unearthing different aspects of what the solution can do, right? I mean, now you get into conversations around business pains that the customer might not even recognize, today. Hey, oh, by the way, are you having this? Well, what do you mean by that? Well, here, let me show you what I mean by that. And so when you can lump on some of those things, and which is why I think the MDM conversation's like a necessity, but I guess we'll get into that. Yeah. Like, I mean, this is where you can have those conversations, start stacking on some additional things to help those business outcomes.
Exactly. Well, then, Keith, let's go down that road, though. Let's talk about Esper's expertise when it comes to MDM. So, why do you think that when VARs are out there right now selling mobile devices, digital signage, tablets, whatever it is that, that obviously is going to need to be managed by some way by the enterprise, some of them may still be a little bit reluctant about providing MDM services. I know, some of the hardware providers may have MDM built in, and there may be options for that, but I feel like a lot of that still leaves it on the end user themselves to actually manage that process and figure that out. I think what you're kind of advocating for at Esper is that should be part of what the VARs are able to do and what you're able to help them do. So why do you feel like there's a hesitation? Is it something that maybe just VARs just aren't comfortable doing, or is there something else going on there?
Well, I mean, it comes across as very labor intensive. You're bearing blame adjacent and potentially risk.
Yeah.
And I always say, if you have a problem with your deployment, always blame the MDM first, right? And I think this loops back to kind of Esper's DNA, is that we didn't start out as a general purpose MDM platform. We don't do BYOD. We don't do knowledge employee laptops. From the start, we have focused on dedicated device use cases, revenue producing, key business operation oriented devices. And that means that without really knowing it at the time, we've always been outcome focused. Because for our business, if the customer can't deploy the devices efficiently, if they can't keep their fleet operating, our business doesn't work. And so that alignment with outcome actually sets us up very well for this new world that's coming with AI, that's really shifting that focus to outcomes and kind of goes into our core DNA. So when you think about MDM platforms, we kind of get put in a bucket with the definition of the industry. In fact, we consider ourselves to be more of device management infrastructure. And so MDM is a completely overloaded term. We could talk a long time about that one.
I would agree with that. Yes, go ahead. Yep.
Yeah, but really we're about how do you manage these fleets of devices? And increasingly they're heterogeneous. And so when you get the OEM approach, it's a fine way to go. And we see a lot of this with Samsung, actually, where if you're buying Samsung tablets or phones for your deployment, Knox is a great option. But thankfully, Samsung is able to look ahead and be an open partner in terms of enabling third-party MDM providers to participate in their infrastructure and use what they provide on Samsung devices. That puts us in a great position to be able to offer one pane of glass across different OEM versions of MDM and also different operating systems. So this is the thing. If you go with the MDM provided by the OEM, you're kind of stuck to that. And it might be a good place to start, but as you spread your fleet, your deployment for different use cases, you're going to run into a lot of different OEMs, potentially different OS platforms that are the best fit for what you're trying to do. And in our view, you need that flexibility, but it's very important to have that one control plane across all these different device types with operating systems to be able to effectively manage your fleet. And that's what we bring to the table. The exciting announcement for us is we now do Windows device management. So it adds to iOS, which you see pop up. Typically, it's an executive that says, I want some iOS, I want iPads, right? Okay, need to service those as well. Although Apple is doing some interesting things that kind of align with the emerging AI use cases that we can talk about a little more if you want. And then you have Linux, which is also becoming a very viable option, because when you look at that trade-off, especially with AI, between doing cloud-based inference, which has costs associated with it, which has latency and reliability potential pitfalls, compared to doing it on-prem, what you're going to use is you're going to use Linux to do that. And so this combines with the momentum that Android continues to build on. Arguably, Android is the best endpoint operating system to create these experiences, whether it's for an employee or whether it's for a customer, with the giant developer base that's out there. And so we think that from a customer perspective, you're going to need to cover all four of these in order to effectively manage your operations.
Man, there's so much to unpack there. Okay, let's rewind a little bit. Let's start off with the the MDM, like competing with. When I think about it, some SIs or VARs might be shy to get into the game because they don't want to compete with their hardware, manufacturers too. But I think Keith addressed that really, really well, and that most end users have multiple kinds of devices. It's not just not everybody's just all on one brand of device.
We would like them for the be, or they would like them for the be.
So the reality is, and I think you're hitting it there, right, Keith, is that, like, if you're going to be a VAR or reseller or an SI that wants to get in the game or in the game of managing those devices, well, that's one of the reasons why you should, is because your end users are going to have multiple different types of manufacturers and types of different OSs, right, Keith? That doesn't really matter to you guys. You can manage those devices.
Yep. And so it goes to, well, what kind of opportunity do you want to go after? And working with platforms such as Esper, it gives you a lot of flexibility to service the customer regardless of what type of OS they're running, which means you can also mate it to the hardware sale if you wish, the refresh cycle, and it really just puts you in a better position to be able to have that business relationship with your customer. And so, there is this line. I mean, if you're of our SI, do you want to be the IT department for your customer? I actually ran an MSP business a while back. And so I know what it's like. It's just like, oh gosh, we got to get the keyboard and the mouse and get in the car and go over to the customer site.
Right.
Take care of that kind of stuff. But it depends on where you are at the spectrum of it. But, regardless of it, it really is about making these deployments boring and predictable from the customer perspective, right? And this is a complement. You want to make it boring and predictable for the customer and set it up in such a way that you get nice margin on it. You win, the customer wins, everybody's happy.
Yeah, and let's hover on that for a little bit, because I guess some VAR and SIs are like, well, it's a little bit of a headache to bring this on board. Maybe there's not enough money in there. I mean, we talk all the time about how the advantages of making their customers sticky, right, to them. Like, and device management is one of those great ways of getting stickier with your customers. And so, I can imagine some of them debate like, well, is it worth the headache? Or, am I going to become the de facto IT department? But I think in that conversation is setting expectations. I still think you can stay very niche-y on, only managing the devices within your purview. To your point, Keith, if you're asked to be the whole IT department, we'll shy away from that, but you can manage and deploy the devices that you have in a meaningful way there. So, but do you think a lot of resellers, they just don't want the headache? Is that what they'd rather just do the hardware rollout and let somebody else worry about managing the devices?
Yeah, I think that's a lot of it.
And
what you give up is observability.
Yeah, right.
And so this is a buzzword going around where we offer what we call partner control center. And if a VAR and SI has an appropriate relationship with the end customer where they allow it, they can have full visibility into the fleet that they're responsible for, that they have deployed, and they can participate in the management of it to the degree that the customer wishes. So if you're full MSP, it flips around, right? Where, hey, you can take responsibility for the fleet and you decide to the extent the customer has exposure and visibility into it, which could be none. Or it could go the other way where you're dealing with a sophisticated IT department that is willing to give you through RBAC. So we have full role-based access control that you can see what's going on and be available to help solve problems with the customer. So that way you can continue to strengthen that relationship and have natural touch points that go along with it that puts you in a better position to make sure that relationship is strong. When that hardware refresh cycle comes, when there's additional needs that the customer has, you're just in a much, much better position. And at Esper, what we're trying to do is make it easy.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
Take down that bar of like the fear of quote unquote MDM and what it brings in, and just make it as easy as possible for these particular types of use cases.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, Keith, do you think it's, again, I'm putting my hat on from a VAR SI perspective. Are they worried about training their staff on how to use a system like yours? Is that a difficult thing for them to do? Or is your software gotten to the point where, from a management standpoint, it's easier than ever, and it's not difficult to teach people how to actually manage these systems? It's not like they have to be, go away to school for 4 years and come back and now they're an MDM expert. Or just kind of walk us through that a little bit.
Yeah, I would say it depends.
Okay.
Right. And so this goes to our partnership with OEMs such as Microtouch, which, by the way, is a great relationship that we have with them. And I know that they're a big BlueStar OEM as well.
Yep.
And the budding relationship that we have coming up with Touch Dynamic as well. And so really this goes to, does your device management provider do the work to align with what the OEM builds and ships with their hardware that combines the operating system?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so this reflects back to something we recently announced, which is a hardware validation service that Esper provides. So we've done this kind of thing for many years, but we're formalizing it so that way, if an OEM comes out with a new model with a new OS build that's incorporated in it, we have done the rigorous validation to be able to claim, based on data and exercising it, that it functions out of the box with all the full features of Esper. When you think about things like provisioning, remote control, those types of features, that it works, building that confidence, not only for the end customer, but for the VAR and SI, that they can make a safe choice. Esper will work with it great. And then when you look at the console itself, we've taken an interesting approach where we're very much a cloud native API driven company. So that means we get a lot of use cases that are quite interesting that are fully automated. So these are like cloud systems that talk to the device fleet and minimize the human involvement involved. That is, for the more sophisticated VAR SI, potentially an opportunity, because essentially by doing automation where you're paying for code instead of humans, you can increase your gross margin.
Yep. That's fair.
On the flip side, a very easy use console. We get feedback that because we only focus on this type of use case, if you work with other device management platforms, they have a lot of things going on, right? They're covering a lot of different use cases. You got to switch modes. There are things that you have to understand. They have a lot of legacy that they've dragged along with them that they still need to support. Because we started with a clean slate just on this use case, I would argue that our console is very straightforward for someone to learn and understand. And also, too, again, it goes back to RBAC, that depending on your role, you can define these roles such that a frontline support person that is taking in a ticket can be limited into their view and what they can do to make them productive for their use case, but they're not going to be in a position to destroy the fleet.
Yeah, no, I think it's quite a coup that you guys are in with Microtouch and got your code within there. Deep into their system, so it turns on. It's Esper ready to do that. So let's shift gears then a little bit and go back to the very beginning of your conversation about the misnomer of MDM. It's like, it's more than just mobile devices, right? I mean, your system is doing passive digital signage that's hanging on a wall. It's not going anywhere, or kiosks and stuff like that. So we really just need to call it device management at this point, right?
I think so. Yeah,
Drop the M.
Drop the M.
Yeah. You ever try to carry a POS around the store with you?
It's a little
not
clunky.
Not very mobile.
Yeah.
All right.
It's hard to do.
But it speaks to the fact that you guys, our world and the IoT and the edge, where we live, it's just, there's more and more devices hanging on there. Some are mobile, yes, but some are not. Yeah. But the fact of the matter is they need to be managed. Properly.
Definitely. Yeah. Keith, let's talk a little. You mentioned the provisioning thing, and I know seamless provisioning is a big part of what you do at Esper. Can you maybe give a quick little explainer of that in case folks aren't quite sure what that actually means, and then to that end also speak to what kind of questions and talking points should VARs be having out there with their customers to help them understand why that's important for their business, and again, to kind of lend themselves to understanding why this device management without the first M is going to be an important part of what they need to be doing going forward.
So thinking about it from the VAR SI point of view, It's kind of in your court what you want to do with this thing called Seamless. And in order to do that, we collaborate with OEM partners where we're essentially embedded in their OS build. And what it allows you to do is to define the stance of the device in the cloud before the device ever appears. In fact, it doesn't even need to be manufactured. You just have to have the identifier for the device, which is typically a serial number or an IMEI if it's a cellular device, that you can then specify the policy, the configuration, the app set up in our cloud. Upon first boot, when that device appears, it gets provisioned to spec automatically. And so this is true zero touch, right? You hear the term zero touch bantered about. That really is an IT-focused zero touch, not an endpoint zero touch. And it goes back to who we are. We're thinking about that deployment when it drops into the store, into the restaurant. How do you make it as easy as possible? And that's where we came up with the idea for Seamless, because it really is fitting in that use case where literally can a store manager at the extreme unbox something and put it in? Now, I'm not necessarily saying that's what VARs and SIs want, because you don't need to take it to that extreme. But what you can do is have a much more efficient process to be able to deploy these devices using Seamless that gives you an opportunity to enhance your margin and delight the customer at the same time. It's literally define it through our portal, turn it on, and then it has everything that the customer is looking for upon first boot after it goes through its process, which typically takes 3 to 5 minutes. Depends on internet connection, depends on how many apps you're installing, all that kind of stuff. But makes it really, really easy to get these devices working out of the box. And also add resiliency too. Because if you factory reset this device for some reason, or if somebody takes this device, it's only going to work to your spec. You're not going to be able to deploy it for anything else based on having Seamless in it. So it gives you complete control.
Really strong arguments, right? I love it. I think that's just the beauty behind that, and having it logged in there and just boop, turns on.
I think that lends itself also to, and we've talked about this before, the idea that your average employee of somewhere, that is not an IT person that just needs to pick up a device and have it work and do their job with it.
Right.
There is also an expectation that they want their device to feel and act and do things the same way that their personal devices do.
Oh, for sure.
And I think this is a great way to feel like, hey, I don't have to be an IT expert to get this up and running and boot it up and everything I needed to have done. I can pick it up and start working, and I intuitively, hopefully, it's designed in a way that I will understand how it works and what I need to do. And I mean, that's just, I think that's the goal that most, your typical, I think back to my days in retail, and granted, devices like this didn't quite exist yet, but like, I think about like, hey, how cool would it have been to be able to, when a newbie comes in, just hand them a device and say, hey, this thing basically is going to operate just like your regular smartphone that you're very accustomed to. But it's just got a few extra things on it that are, specific to our business and what we're trying to do. And they're already preloaded and ready for you, and you're good to go right out of the gate.
Or even more efficient, when it goes down, you get another one, whoop, it's up and running within minutes.
Exactly.
I mean, just highly efficient to
Which again
to do this.
is similar to the personal experience. Like if I lost my iPhone tomorrow and go out and buy a new one, it would just take me a few minutes before it looks and feels exactly the same way as my current one did. So, so last thing, Keith, I want to come back to the multiple OS thing, and I think we've touched on this a few times already. But obviously, a lot of businesses out there do have a lot of devices, a lot of platforms. I think of just here in our office, like those of us on the marketing and Barcom and design side, we typically work off Macs.
We got Windows. We got
exactly. A lot of other folks are using Windows and using HP devices or whatever. We've got some Android stuff out there. See, you got your Android there in the background, and you mentioned earlier, like iOS is starting to to play a little bit in the AI space. So like, there's just a lot of stuff going on out there right now. So how can we help solve those problems? Like, it's not like you can go to these enterprises and say, hey, you guys need to get it together and put everything on one OS and be done with it. We're never going to be able to play in that way. As you point out, like the CEO might be an advocate of a one particular service, and everyone else is using something else. So how do we address those problems, and maybe how does this kind of help go in and solve some of the issues of those clashing OSs that are out there that just aren't necessarily communicating the way we would like them to, or are creating any kind of walls or barriers between parts of the organization?
Yeah. Well, I think AI is driving a very fluid state in the world of OSs. And so what I mean by that is these OS vendors are all racing to build in AI capabilities. Part of it is the challenge that we live in is that the consumer market is driving all this right now. Right. And there's a lot of reasons for that, where if you look at like our vertical market use cases, it moves at a slower pace relative to hardware refresh cycle. Right. And this is a big challenge right now for the industry is like, well, what do you do? Do you go for that hardware refresh cycle to get AI built into the hardware? Do you wait? But the key point is that you focus on the customer relative to the use case and what they're trying to do. And by the way, I would suggest using AI to help you.
Right?
Right? Yeah, I use AI all the time. I have multiple AIs that I use. You can now build agents pretty efficiently to be able to tackle this stuff. So get intimate with AI to help you understand the state of the art and map it back to ultimately what the customer is trying to accomplish over their timeline, and be able to provide the best option out there relative to the client OS. So I don't know if that's answering your question. Maybe you want to dig in a little bit more on that one.
No, I think it does actually, because we just kind of came full circle back to the idea of address outcomes.
There you go.
Like, focus what you're trying to do on what are you trying to accomplish. And I think when it comes to like the multiple OS conversation, it'd be like, hey, what is it about having these various OSs in your operations, various types of devices, maybe various different types of hardware? What is causing a problem? What needs to be solved? What needs to be communicating and working together? And then let's talk about how we can make that happen.
Yeah, that's so true. And it's going to happen, right? You're going to run into
it has to,
Yes.
Exactly. Like, again, you'd be hard pressed, I think, to find, unless you're actually like talking to people at Apple or Google or other places, like you're going to be hard pressed to find a company where everything is all working on the same platforms and devices at all times.
Well, I guess what I'm saying there is, it's going to happen, so don't be shy about it. Or you have that be the barrier that's having you move forward with these types of solutions.
Yeah, exactly.
I know just the company that can help you out.
Hey, there you go. Nice flex there, Keith. Nice.
We told Keith before the pod, before we started recording, that he needed to find an excuse and a way to put that BlueStar logo up on screen. And there we go. We found it. I like it. All right. Well, then in a moment, we're going to have Keith tell us a little bit more about Esper's value prop. And how they're going to help you go out there and win some business if you haven't figured that out already. Before we do so, a few quick notes of what's happening around BlueStar Nation. Look, you're already listening to the BlueStar Nation podcast.
Yes.
But are you subscribed to the BlueStar Nation blog? It's our hub for very carefully curated content on the trends, the hot topics, the channel news, the stuff that you actually need to know out there to do your job better and find new business.
Can I make a claim that it's like noise free? It's just high quality stuff.
I agree. Absolutely. Right? Because that's our intent. We're not putting stuff out there just for the sake of putting something out there.
No, it's good stuff.
We want it to be deliberate. We want it to be thoughtful. It's why we're not publishing 5 blog posts a day.
No, it's more, you're not going to get jammed.
2 or 3 really good ones a month or every couple months.
That's right.
Because
it is not noise. It's good stuff.
Right?
It's good stuff.
But the best part of those, though, this is our regular end user surveys where we go out and get insights from actual decision makers in retail, supply chain, healthcare, education, many more industries, that basically to understand the people that you're selling to and what they need. We're going to get the dirt on their tech challenges. We're going to talk about their preferences, their future needs, who you need to be talking to, and what you can actually do to get a yes to a demo or a further conversation. Who doesn't want to know that stuff?
Hey, absolutely.
But sometimes you got to ask the people, what it takes in order to get them there. So check out BlueStar Nation, the blog. Subscribe to the newsletter so you don't miss a new article when they come out. We're excited about this stuff. It's really good content we're putting out there. We have a lot of really good surveys actually coming up. We've I think done maybe 2 or 3 of them in just the last couple of months. We've got a couple more that are ready to start
percolating,
surveying. So we have lots of good content rolling out there over the next couple of months. While you're doing that, take a moment here on whatever channel you are listening or watching this podcast. If you're on YouTube, hit the like button, leave us a comment, subscribe to our channel. Make sure you're subscribed if you're not already. If you're listening on a podcast platform of choice, make sure you're subscribed. Leave us a review if there's
Drop
a way,
a review.
especially if you're on Apple Podcasts. And that's where a lot of folks listen to podcasts. Leave us a 5-star rating and review. We'd love to hear from you. And more importantly, send this out to somebody. If this was a great conversation, you're like, hey, I'm fascinated by MDM. I want to talk about, or rather,
just DM.
Device management.
Yes, device management.
DM without that M.
There
yes.
you go.
Yes.
Then I would like to have a conversation about this with you. Listen to this podcast. Tell me what your thoughts on it. Share that with somebody. It's great. It's a great way to get the word out and get some more people knowing what we are doing out there. As always, submit your ideas to us. We want to know what you want to hear about on the podcast. We want to understand what you want us to be talking about and the topics that are going to matter to you and your business. Find us on BlueStar's LinkedIn page. Email us anytime, Nation at BlueStarinc.com. All right, let's wrap things up with a little VAR value. So Keith, I think we've dove into the idea of the background of Esper and understand, why you guys do what you do, but maybe let's distill that down. So let's say you're a VAR, SI, and ISV listening right now and thinking like, all right, I get it. Device management's important. How's Esper going to help me do that though? How are you going to help them generate that sticky recurring revenue and really go out and help them address outcomes within their businesses also?
I think it's the ability to use device management to generate net new conversations around use cases that perhaps you don't service today. My theory is that generally the channel avoids device management, right? It's an artifact that you have to do that is decided at the end. That is a big pain. And my contention is you should flip it around. I mean, think about walking into one of your key customers and getting a microtouch device with seamless provisioning on it. And just being able to demonstrate to them, hey, have you thought about this?
Yeah, right.
The operational pain point and being able to talk about the value proposition to the customer of having this resilient device that you just deploy and it just works. You don't have to roll the truck. If something fritzes on the device, you just factory reset it and it comes back. I think the other interesting part too is to look at where the action is at. And kind of the takeaway from NRF for me is that there's a lot of talk about front of house. But I think the back of house operations, the storeroom, is really where a lot of the AI innovation is happening. To me, one of the hottest use cases is kitchen displays. Right. And so if you're working in the restaurant industry, you have restaurateurs that have these giant floods of orders online coming in, whether it's for delivery services or mobile pickup. And the traditional CADIA systems that arguably are kind of antiquated are being stressed. There's a huge bunch of ISV innovation. So that's the other part, is to understand which ISVs you should align with as part of this. Because that is the other part of the story, that if you kind of look at it as like device management as this layer or plane that gets you in for the opportunity to provide additional services and value to your customers. So don't shy away from it, embrace it, whether it's us or somebody else. And then the right OEMs that are aligned with the device management providers, of which Microtouch is the leading example, along with Touch Dynamic. And then what ISVs are really strong in this space, kind of upping the bar of how do you use AI? How do you handle these complex use cases? And the back of house is a big one. Another one is this transition from barcodes, right? And this is a huge, huge part of the industry with these AIDC devices. And AI is kind of coming in there and upsetting that apple cart. That means that decision makers within the end user space are giving it looks. They have questions. It might be timely to inject with a perspective about that to get those conversations going that could be a benefit to you to be able to cement and drive your business. So really, when you look at what Esper brings to the table, we bring to the table conversations that can lead to stickiness and greater margins that I would contend that the channel has previously shied away from because it looks like it's too complex. What we do is we make that complex easy. We give you that one pane of glass with consistent infrastructure and the flexibility to let you create the type of solution the customer seeks, whether it's humans operating through a portal or whether it's driven by code using our cloud APIs.
I love the hack of flipping the conversation. Like, don't leave it to the end. Oh, now things are deployed. Oh, wait, let's have this. No. Have that conversation on the front end. That's brilliant. Yeah.
Well, I think
what a differentiator that you can walk in there with.
I agree, and especially for businesses where, I don't know, sometimes, especially like if you're working with a retailer or hospitality or something, a lot of times there's a lot of embedded hardware and they're just not interested in making changes. And we know it's an uphill battle sometimes to get folks to uproot and change systems or change devices. But maybe if you're looking to get a starting point, this could be a great starting point. You go in and say, hey, all right, I get it. You probably aren't. You just got a new point of sale system, a couple of years ago,
or you're not interested.
Just got some mobile devices recently, or you're just not interested. But what's going on with your device management? How's that working out for you? Because that's a conversation that most likely there is probably some kind of pain points about,
right,
and could give you your foot in the door there. And Keith, to your point, I think at the very beginning of that answer there also was that not a lot of people are doing this. So maybe if you are the one that is doing it, you can get out front and become kind of a bit of a pioneer and a leader in having these conversations that maybe a lot of your competitor peers may not be.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's important to do it up front. For better or for worse, adding device management is best when it's a fresh, new deployed device. Once they're out in the field, operationally, the bar is higher. Maybe you can make lemonade out of that by charging for it. But once devices are deployed without device management or with particular device management, is a much higher bar to be able to convert them in the field. We've been through it. We've done some crazy techniques on behalf of big customers to be able to do this, using system updates to be able to accomplish that. It's kind of bespoke, very heavy engineering. The cleanest point is upon a hardware refresh cycle. Thus why OEMs are very important. They're the ones driving that hardware refresh cycle.
Absolutely.
So that, from a channel perspective, that is your time. Do not leave it until later, because it can result in a much better solution for the customer if device management is taken into consideration, because it really is infrastructure that can be built upon to create better value and a more unique solution for the customer than you could otherwise have done without it.
Yep, that's
I
good.
like it. Good
Brilliant.
stuff.
Good stuff.
All right. Well, if you want to learn more about Esper and how they can help you, go to our show notes. Check out a link to their page on our website, or reach out to our Adam Daria, our BDM
Adam
for Esper.
He's wearing this.
There you
There
go.
it is.
He will be happy to assist you
That's
and
right.
put you in touch with the team and answer all your questions about device management and how Esper can help you out there. All right, let's wrap up as always with our favorite segment, What's on Your Radar? This is where we can talk about something in the world of tech, innovation, science, the news, business, entertainment, whatever it is we feel like chatting about today that's caught our eye. Keith, I'll let you kick it off. What's on your radar right now?
RFID.
Yeah.
No.
Right? It sounds weird, right? It's been around forever. But the big change is you're going to see the ability to have an RFID reader embedded in the silicon that is going to be in every major smartphone in the coming years.
Nice.
This is driven by EU 27, which is a European mandate to embed RFID tags in pretty much everything. And so that shift is going to mean that everything's going to have an RFID tag, at least in Europe. It'll take time for it to bleed over to the United States, but the economics relative to RFID tags are collapsing. And so I think this will catch our industry off guard a bit, because we've all heard about RFID. It's
For
been
sure.
around for a long time. Huge in warehousing, right? Back of house stuff, but it's going to come to the forefront of the front of house, and also for the consumer. Because if it's in your smartphone, you're going to start to have different consumer experiences, different expectations, and kind of a vision that an item is going to become a construct of social media, which is weird to think about, right? If you have the provenance of, let's say, Dean, that vest that you're wearing, what if you bought it from somebody else? You could potentially know now.
Yeah, right.
Because that item will have a history.
Yeah.
What that means for the world, I don't know, but I think it generates a bunch of interesting use cases for retailers, especially.
Yeah.
If you think about e-commerce and also too kind of sustainability, and especially with Gen Z, what they think about, you're going to have all this available to you. And what does it mean for the operator to do it? What does it mean for the channel to take advantage of it? Because I think we've kind of like let that one go by. I think it's going to change in the next couple of years pretty majorly.
I like it. Yeah.
So you're suggesting that maybe everything we have is going to have some kind of an RFID chip, and then we can all just use our phones to go check them out and get information, buy it, whatever we want to do?
Yep.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah.
Until you get that awkward moment where someone's coming up and sticking their phone by your shoe or something, like, hey man, I want those kicks. Where'd you get them?
I don't know how that's going to work, right? Because you literally can cruise around with a smartphone and just be hitting a bunch of tags.
Yeah.
We'll see how that goes.
Yeah. It could be a little bit of an overload of info. Someone will figure that out, how to make that work in the right way.
Absolutely.
That's interesting.
For sure.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Dean, what's on your radar?
Would you like to have the ability to regrow a limb? Let's just say in the awkward where you may have lost a limb. Let's say you're cutting stuff for dinner and you lose a hand. Would you like to regrow it?
I'm a little bit better at cutting than that, but yes, if I were to lose a hand, I would appreciate getting a new one.
Maybe you're trimming a tree outside and you'll lop an arm off or something like that.
Sure.
Anyway, I'm not belittling at all but there's some fascinating stuff. Scientists have uncovered new clues on how some animals regrow lost limbs, right?
And
they've made a major step forward for regenerative medicine, which I didn't even know was a category, but regenerative medicine. So this particular study focused on axolotus, which are like little Mexican. It says
Axolotls.
Axolotls.
Is that
it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
They're like salamander type things.
Yes, endangered Mexican salamanders.
They're super cute.
They are super cute, but apparently they can regenerate body parts. So anyway, they injected them and genetically engineered them so that they could glow in the dark, and now they're kind of tracking the molecular and genetic signals that happen during regeneration, and they found that there's certain key aspects of this and some acids that are formed, and I'm not going to get into it. Enzymes called CYPL426B1s and stuff like that. But at the end of the road, they're really they're starting to unlock this whole thing about how the whole regenerative process happens, and they're getting excited about it because they're thinking of ways that this could actually have an impact on humans.
Right.
So they're getting a little bit closer to having regenerative stuff, which wouldn't be so bad, right?
No, probably not.
And not in my silly use cases that I have, but there's some real world aspects, whether it's military or things of that nature, where that would be very dramatic. But when you think about it, it's like if a salamander can do it, why can't we?
Now, I will mention, because this obviously my nerdy self immediately thinks about the Lizard, which is a Spider-Man villain.
Oh yes, of course.
It was a doctor named Dr. Kurt Connors who was missing an arm. I believe sometimes it was born that way, sometimes he lost it in some way. I don't know, but he was experimenting with lizard formulas and stuff, and how DNA of lizards are able to like regrow their tails and stuff.
Right. Yeah.
And would try to use it on himself, and ends up turning himself into a monstrous lizard that switches back and forth from time to time.
Well, we'll hope that doesn't happen.
So my pitch is maybe there's a cuter version where it's like a guy turns himself into the axolotl or something.
There you go.
Like
yes.
maybe that's it.
Yes.
And he's actually rather pleasant and kind, and like not a menace at all. But no, seriously.
You got me thinking Fallout. I don't know if you have watched it.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Let's not ghoul out on this, eh?
Exactly. So, I mean, but yes, to your point, there is a wonderful practical potential application.
Oh, for sure.
Could help a lot of people regrow limbs.
But it's just fascinating to think about regenerative medicine. That would be, the body is just amazing anyway. Like if we could get it to figure it out how to regenerate itself, unbelievable.
I always wonder if one of these days we're ever going to reach a tipping point where we find just the right thing, kind of like how AI is, and AI is actually helping out with a lot of new biomedical discoveries and mysteries too. But I wonder if we're ever going to hit that point where we're just like some of these things that just sound so like sci-fi and futuristic just become the norm.
The day to day.
Yeah. Where it's like, you lost a finger, no worries, we'll get you a new one. We'll have your new one grown by the end of the week.
We live in Star Trek. Yeah.
If only.
All right, what's on your radar, my man?
All right, so I always like to bring this up every year, the Consumer Electronics Show.
Yes,
not too far back.
Yes.
And as always, there's always interesting, weird stuff at CES. I did find it unusual. I was reading an article about how there was very few new, bizarre cars. That's always a big thing at CES. There's always rolling out new vehicles or whatever. Here's the cool car of the future that doesn't actually end up ever happening.
Doing anything.
Show it off. Yep. There was suspicion that part of the reason for that is because so much, unfortunately, the car world is starting to shift away from America. So maybe there wasn't as much there. But fear not, there were some other crazy, weird, and unusual things that will probably never actually see the light of day.
Hit us.
One, teeth music.
What?
So this is basically a lollipop.
I saw this.
A lollipop star that basically, if you put it in your mouth, clamp your teeth on it, it uses vibration to conduct through your teeth to your ear, which, if you've ever gotten drilled at the dentist's office, you know how it makes a sound within your ear. This basically, the lollipop will play a song.
Only you can hear.
That only you can hear. And only, I guess, while you're biting on the lollipop.
I don't know.
They're $9
I don't know that this has a practical.
I don't know.
$9. That's enough to have fun for 10 minutes.
It feels like a weird, fun novelty thing that I'm not going to lie. I would probably try. I don't know that this is a practical, product.
Whoever buys it is a sucker.
Yes, I would agree with you, Keith.
Nice work. I don't think Dean even got it at first.
Now I'm there. I got you. Well done. Well done. Yes.
All right. A couple other strange, fun, weird technology that came out. The vibrating chef's knife.
What?
Which is one of those things at first you're like, that
Why
sounds
would it vibrate?
awful.
Yes.
But it actually makes sense. It's an ultrasonic vibration. Basically, it helps make cutting a little smoother and easier.
I was going to
So
go
like
there.
for
Okay.
something that is either difficult to cut, their example was like a tomato, like a thin slice of tomato, and you're trying
you
to
got this thing,
cut a little bit
and
thinner.
okay.
The vibration, and again, it's almost minuscule that you can't really even notice hardly as the user.
Okay.
When it's vibrating at such a high ultrasonic
I like it.
frequency.
I like
that
it.
It actually can go through a little quicker. I'm
I
like,
think that's practical.
all right, I would try that out.
Oh,
That's,
gotcha.
that's
Yep.
pretty interesting. Panda companion bots. So these are basically little stuffed animals that look like panda bears.
We're going back to this stuff again.
That are kind of AI enabled, but there is a good cause here. They are suggesting them for use for senior citizens, those who are in cognitive decline, or also for kids who are working on social skills or may have some challenges to being interactive.
Okay.
So it's like a kind of a friendly, soft, comfortable device, little robot thing that can provide a little bit of.
That seems like a dime a dozen, right? There's all kinds of those out there.
That's true. There are. But
Pandas.
are any of them a panda? I
I don't know. That's a good point.
What an AI Labubu.
There you go.
Great. That's all we need to do is make them collectible too. Yeah.
Oh, that was just starting to die out until Keith said that. Boo-boos are going along. Yeah, all right.
You better patent that idea while you can before someone takes it. So you got about a week and a half before this episode goes live. All right.
I'm working on it.
Yeah.
How about the AI soulmate?
Okay. What's
which-
that? Is this like my girlfriend, or is that what you mean by soulmate?
I don't know. So basically, it is a company called Lepro that's putting out what they call the AI soulmate. It's a desktop OLED screen. It basically just looks like. It almost looks like a tall, speaker kind of thing of sorts, but it's got a screen, a curved screen on the front of it. And essentially it's, if you wanted to have, that whole AI companion thing started to become a big deal. Like people are starting to have AI girlfriends and talk to AI, create bonds with them.
Right.
Well, what if you could actually see what that AI looks like as well? So it basically creates a video avatar for you to see, which again is one of those things I'm like, I get what you're doing there, but I just know there's going to be some people that are going to hack that and take that in absolutely the wrong direction.
No doubt about it.
But if you wanted to have a physical, their
soulmate,
their idea behind that is that, well, it stays plugged in and has to stay on a desk so you can get up and walk away. It doesn't have to go with you everywhere. I'm like, whatever. Is that just going to mean someone's just going to be planting themselves in one spot and never moving?
Exactly.
Or they're going to find a way to take a portable battery with them and plug it in as they're going around? Whatever. And
this just sounds like
the
marketing.
last bizarre product, the OLED Smart Purse.
Okay.
So this is, as it says,
so ditch
purse,
the Coach purse. We're getting
a
one of
high-end
these
handbag that has a built-in OLED display directly embedded in the leather. And apparently, even has kind of like a leather-like screenage over it.
All right.
To so it doesn't feel like you just have like a pane of glass on the side of your purse.
So now I can change it per my outfit.
I suppose.
Yes.
Because that's the other part. Is I looked as like, what do you do with that? But I guess it literally is just to display patterns or
right. I can
whatever.
see
or I guess maybe if you're, I could see it for like an influencer or an actor or something using it to display a cause or like a website or a product or something. But apparently the prices can get up to $9,000.
I'm out
for the top end
I'm out.
of the OLED. Smart
Keep your
purse.
purse, Dean. You're good.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And now I have to charge my purse?
Right?
I probably.
I didn't even think about that.
I'm
Keith.
sure you do. Yeah.
Did you see those backpacks that I can't remember the company, but they had the backpacks with the screen on it that had their like propaganda stuff about their company.
Gotcha.
No, good grief.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's coming. There it is.
Now here's
here.
my thing. I saw this and I thought, is like a practical use case would be, there's always a lot of jokes and riffing on women never being able to know what's actually in their purse or finding anything in there. I thought if it was like some kind of like an inward facing camera or something that could give them a snapshot of what's in their purse.
Let me look in here.
That'd be helpful.
RFID tags.
Yes, I was going to go there, Keith. You drop it in the purse, boom, it just starts tracking exactly what's in your purse. So you got a list of goods inside the purse.
Exactly.
I like it. It
all comes back to RFID.
Yes, it does.
All right. That is what's on our radar. Keith Szot with Esper, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate having you on the show today. Until next time, folks, it's time to just like Justin Timberlake in The Social Network, drop the M from the
drop
MDM.
the M. There you go.
Device management. It's
nice. Just the DM.
That's right. We'll see you out there, folks, in the nation.